everyone. I'm Adam Brown, and this is Shell Point Today for the weekend of July 11th, 12th, and 13th. Friday is market day at the administration courtyard. Our vendors always bring wonderful fresh fruits, vegetables, honey, and other goodies. If you haven't been to the market day in a while, it might be a good day to get out and give it another try. Another thing you might want to give another try Friday is the Promenade Cafe, because Friday is your last chance to do so for a while. Starting Saturday the 12th, the Promenade Cafe will close through August 24th. If you need a snack of, say, maybe some popcorn and soda come Saturday afternoon about 2 o'clock, I have a tip for you. You can get some for free in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands. And while you're there loading up on the popcorn, you might as well stay and watch the Saturday DVD showing of the 2013 movie, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. I hear it's quite an adventure. That's the Saturday DVD at 2 o'clock in the Grand Cypress Room at the Woodlands. And if you missed the 2 o'clock showing, come on down to the Grand Cypress Room at 7 o'clock for an encore performance. If you like to have your pictures stay still instead of moving, then we have something else you might like. Monday starts the first of 3 programs on the grandeur of British painting. Presenting will be Dottie Megan. Her first session will focus on portraiture and landscapes and will employ slides, videos, and discussion. The Grandeur of British Painting Part 1 happens Monday at 10:15 in the Social Center on the island. Summertime at Shell Point means cleaning and maintenance projects ramp up. One that you might need to be aware of as you move around the island this weekend is that paint crews will be at work in the tunnel. Rooms will still be accessible as they will be working on walls at this time, but please exercise caution and watch for those wet paint signs. Next weekend, they will be painting the floors and access will be blocked, but we'll remind you about that on next Friday's show. Coming up, we are replaying some of the week's best stories from Shell Point TV. But before we do that, let's cover all of this weekend's happenings, academy news, menus, and church news.
Hello everyone, my name is Leslie Brand and I'm here with Bev Chanley, and we are here for the weekend edition to tell you what's going on for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're going to start out Friday at 8:30 with the Marketplace in the Administration Courtyard. 9 o'clock, round robin doubles tennis at the tennis courts of the Woodlands. 10 o'clock, canasta in the game room. Also at 10 o'clock is genealogy in the stable room. 10:15, inquiring minds in the manatee room. The Model Yacht Sailing Club will meet at 10:15 at the Commons Lake at the Woodlands. 12:30, mixed progressive bridge in the game room of the Woodlands. 1:15, table tennis in the tarpon room. Also at 1:15, quilters in the Osprey room. 1:30, vespers in the community room of the Arbor. 2 o'clock, bid euchre in the stable room of the Woodlands. 2:30, vespers in the community room of King's Crown. And to end today at 6:45, game night will be in the Resident Activity Center. Now here's Bev for the Saturday activities.
Thanks, Leslie. At 8 o'clock Saturday morning, we start with pickleball. That'll be at the pickleball court. Also at 8 o'clock, we have the round robin doubles tennis going on at the Woodlands tennis courts. Men's doubles tennis and ladies doubles tennis will be at 9:30 at the tennis courts. At 9:45, duplicate bridge will be played in the manatee room on the island. At 1 o'clock, chess will be in the library lounge at the Resident Activity Center. 1:15 is the time for Scrabble in the library lounge. Also at 1:15, we have table tennis in the tarpon room, and that'll be going all weekend unless it's posted otherwise. At 2 o'clock, we have the Saturday DVD, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. That'll be in the Grand Cypress Room down at the Woodlands. And at 3:15, basic line dancing will be in the Health Club. At 6:30, we have a duplicate bridge in the Manatee Room. And then at 7 o'clock, we have the second showing of our Saturday DVD, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, in the Grand Cypress Room. Well, that finishes up Saturday activities. Here's Leslie with the Sunday lineup.
Thank you, Bev. We're going to start out Sunday morning at 9 a.m. for morning worship in the Grand Cypress Room. And if you missed the 9 o'clock, there'll be an 11 o'clock morning worship also in the Grand Cypress Room. And to end Sunday at 6:15, we have evening service in the social center.
Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us for the weekend edition of Shell Point TV. But I have an announcement to make. This is Leslie's last time on Shell Point TV because she's moving on to a new position. We're excited, very excited for her new position, but we are sure going to miss her. So if you see her, wish her well and send her on a happy goodbye.
Hi, I'm Terry Kolath, and I'd love to share with you new classes coming next week in the Academy of Lifelong Learning. On Monday, Employee Chaplain Don Stainhook will bring us Beautiful Science 11. And Dottie Megan will start session 1 of 3 sessions on the grandeur of British painting. On Tuesday, Professor Kerr brings us session 3 of 5 sessions on the story of China.
Menus for your weekend. In the Crystal Room, the Crystal Platter on Friday is linguine with clam sauce, garlic bread, and spinach. The dinner special is the seafood buffet for $15.95, and the soup of the day is lobster bisque. In the Island Cafe for lunch, the special is a seafood schooner on an English muffin with chips for $7.25. The dinner special is Chef's Choice for $8.25. Dinner specials in the Palm Grill on Friday are lamb chops for $22.95 or chicken Oscar for $15.95. On Saturday, the Crystal Room is closed. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Saturday, the special is a pulled pork sandwich with coleslaw for $7.25. The dinner special is chicken francesca with mashed potatoes and mixed vegetables for $8.25. The dinner special in the Palm Grill on Saturday is prime rib for $19.95. On Sunday, the Crystal Room features its Sunday brunch for $17.50. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Sunday, the special is fresh fruit with cottage cheese, a sliced tomato, and a hamburger patty for $7.25. The dinner special is Chef's Choice for $8.25. And the Palm Grill is closed on Sundays. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Welcome to Village Church Connections. I'm Dave Pavey, and with me is Glenda Stephenson, Church Administrator for the Village Church. Glenda, we're looking forward to the weekend. Tell us what's going to happen in the morning.
In the morning, we will be doing 2 services again in the Grand Cypress Room, like we've been doing during our interim period while the renovation's going on. So we'll be meeting at 9 a.m. and 11. Pastor Andy will be in the book of Hebrews, as he has been now for a number of weeks, but he starts a new chapter, chapter 4.
Okay.
And the title of his sermon this week is Need Rest. And it's the whole discussion that we find in the book of Hebrews about Sabbath day rest. So Andy will be exploring that in the morning, and I look forward to that.
Yeah, and that gives us all something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Now, we've been having refreshments between services, I've noticed recently. Will we be having refreshments too, and what's the thought behind that?
We will be. Because of the fact that we are doing 2 services, it's harder for us to fellowship as one body. Mm-hmm. And so we've made it a priority during these summer months to just set the stage for some sweet fellowship to happen.
That's good.
And so we will be doing that again, 10 to 11 o'clock between services, and we encourage folks to take advantage of that.
So those who come early can stay late, and those who come to the second service could come early.
Exactly.
That's great. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we have an evening service at the Social Center at 6:15.
That's correct. And Pastor Andy will be speaking again. He started a new series on Sunday nights called Do You Love Me? I think the whole point that Andy's wanting to drive home is it's not enough to just know the Lord. It's critical that we love Him. Jesus cares about our relationship.
Exactly.
So we'll be looking at that.
Yeah, well, I look forward to that. Mm-hmm. So thank you, folks, for joining us today at Village Church Connections.
It's time now to take a look back at some of the best stories from this week on Shell Point Today. We started the week with a couple of items for you bargain shoppers. First, here's Robin Church at the salon.
Hi, my name is Robin Church, and I'm the salon manager here at Shell Point. And this month, I'd like to invite you to take a look at the Shell Point Life magazine. The salon article and specials is on page 25. And we've got some great offerings this month. One is 10% off all of our Zoya products. Now Zoya, some of you may know, is toxin-free. which means there's no formaldehyde, there's no camphor, and there's no toluene. And those are all known carcinogens, and Zoya does not contain any of those products, and they're commonly found in nail care products. So we're very, very happy with our Zoya line. Also, we have the Zoya Remove Polish Remover, and that also is real gentle on the nail, and it doesn't dehydrate the nail as a regular nail polish would. Also, we have our Dury Nail Strengthener. Now that has been very, very popular around here. The Dury is really a wonderful product that helps to strengthen the nail and allow your natural nail to grow. How you do it is you put a coat on every day for 7 days. At the end of 7 days, you remove all of it and you start all over. And we've just really had some great success with that. Also, we have a special on hair color with foils. If you are getting a regular hair color and adding a few foils, or getting just a highlight, either way, your hair color is on special this month in July. So 10% off your color if it includes foils, or if you're having a highlight itself. So I hope you stop by the salon and take advantage of some of the specials. Of course, if you send a friend, it's always 20% off to both you, the referring customer, and the new customer. You both receive 20% off. So thank you. We look forward to seeing you soon, and have a great day.
Our other bargain story for the week is from the Shell Point thrift store. Melody Desolé was there with something worth celebrating.
Hi Shell Point, I'm Melody Desolé here today with Patty Cox, the Community Thrift Store Manager, and we have something so exciting to share with you, of course. That's why we're here today for a big celebration. Patty, what are we celebrating in July?
We're celebrating our 3rd anniversary. The store's been open for 3 years now, and we have our volunteers that have made this an awesome store.
Thank you. So this is really what we're starting to do. All the blue tags in honor of red, white, and blue for July, all the blue tags this month on any clothing article, whether it's boutique or otherwise, is only $1. You cannot beat it. See this beautiful sweater? Blue tag, $1. Now, in addition to all the blue tag clothing being only $1, starting tomorrow for this entire week, we have an additional sale happening. And Patty, tell us what that additional percentage off is.
It'll be 20% off of everything from Crystal, Waterford, Wedgwood, our designer clothing. Everything in the store will be 20% off.
So that includes antiques and furniture and all sorts of things.
Children's toys, everything.
Okay, Shell Point, so for this week only, from Tuesday, July 8th through Saturday, July 12th, you'll receive an additional 20% off anything in the store. Well, Shell Point, thank you so much for making these 3 years at the Community Thrift Store a large success. We thank you so much for your volunteer efforts. We thank you for your patronage, and we hope to see you out here for the entire month of July. And remember, all blue tags for the entire month are only $1, including boutique items, and also from July 8th through July 12th. Any item you see in the store is an additional 20% off. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you out here.
Pat Specht came by to share her passion for music and a way to get you singing.
Hello everyone, I'm here today with Pat Specht of Lakewood, and we're talking about some fun in the Academy of Lifelong Learning as Pat Specht presents Sing, Sing, Sing. Hello, Pat.
Hi there, Terry.
Well, I have an office near the Grand Cypress Room. I enjoy jazz and stuff every single Wednesday, and I know there was a sadness at the thought of our community missing it for a summer hiatus.
Right.
So I said, Pat, people loved your sing-along last year. Will you do another one? And you said yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Because you know how important it is that we have the singing in our lives, don't you?
Yes, I do. It makes people joyful, and they remember things when they hear all of these songs that they used to sing. It's just wonderful.
What kind of songs are we going to share in our sing?
Well, we're gonna start with the oldies and goodies, I always call them, because I grew up with a mother that played the piano. In fact, she did the same thing I did in my working years. She was a music teacher in the elementary grades, and so it was just natural for me to sit at the piano and sing with her. And she taught me all these old songs, really clear back, before me.
Whoa.
Definitely before me.
But before our time, huh?
Yeah. And so we're going to start with that, things like Down by the Old Mill Stream and Darktown Strutter's Ball, and let's see, what do we got? 5'2", all of those things that I didn't grow up with, but I did grow up with because she taught them to me. And then I'm also going to get up into the newer things. I mean, things that I grew up with, you know, like, what have I got here? Zippity Doo-Dah and Hello Dolly, and some of the things from shows that are on Broadway. They're fun to sing. Mame, I mean, that's always fun to sing. So I'm going to do a little bit of everything, and I'm going to change it every week. We're going to have a different song sheet every week.
Right.
So that hopefully we don't, I think every once in a while we'll repeat one maybe, but we don't have to, you know, because there's lots more to come.
Well, when you mention the word fun with the word singing, what about those of us who don't have the voice you have? Can we still participate?
Yes, I've had people come up to me and say, oh, Pat, I want to come, but I don't sing. And I said, wait a minute, you can come anyhow. I'm not going to put a phone right there in your mouth so that everybody hears what you sound like. I'm not going to do that. But you can come and just kind of enjoy listening, or you can kind of hum along. I mean, I hope you do come, and I hope the men come too, because we need those nice deep bass voices or baritone voices, you know.
And it's going to be a non-judgment zone.
Non-judgment. Oh, I'm not going to. If they're not on key, so what? I mean, I'm not going to worry because they're having fun, you know.
Right. Well, thank you for showing us not only that we're going to have fun, but who we're going to have fun with. Appreciate it so much. You will not want to miss it. Singing voice or no singing voice, come on out and have fun. We've got 4 Wednesdays starting July 9th, Grand Cypress Room, 2:30 to 3:30 with Miss Pat Specht.
From time to time, we ask some of our assisted living and pavilion residents to share some of their memories. This time, it was all about summer.
I came from a family of 4 brothers and 1 sister, and we had a lot of fun. My dad loved to go places and do things. We used to go swimming at a pond that we called Ridgeway. We took picnic lunches for us out there, and that was a lot of fun too. But another favorite thing that we had is because we didn't have any refrigerator at home, but the ice truck came by once a day, and we kids would stand out at the side and wait for the ice truck because they'd have to chip off a block for you to take in the house, and what fell off, the iceman let us have it to suck it. But it was a lot of fun. And there's a lot of things that has happened now from having to live with 4 boys, brothers, and a sister. But it was a lot of fun, and I wouldn't change it for anything.
Salt Lake City, to go into the salt water and float. That was fun. That was one of the fun places. Well, my father was a professor, so he had the summers off, or part of the summers off. So we used to go in the old cars and travel all around the country to different states. And of course, the facilities for overnight staying were not very good at that time. So we had bedrolls made out of blankets. We each had our own bedroll, and we would sleep wherever we found an empty place in a churchyard or a schoolyard. I remember one night we were visited by a creature that turned out to be a skunk. So I remember that. It ruined our bedrolls, and we had to start all over again. So that was fun.
Well, I guess going to Seaside Park in Bridgeport, Connecticut. The beach was nice then. I don't know what it's like now. I had twin sisters, and I guess we would just go and spend the day. But it was fun. We had a good time.
Well, my early experiences were all in Canada. We motored usually for the summer vacations, and often it was from Winnipeg to Ottawa, Canada, and I think we knew that road personally, every stop on it. And I think the one I had most fun with, we went up to where my aunt and uncle had a cottage on the Ottawa River, and it was very wide and shallow where they had built their cottage. And you had to go out, more than 100 yards to do any fishing. But we did fish, and my sister caught what was for us a great big fish. I think it must have weighed 15 pounds. So I think she was the hero of the day.
Well, one of my early memories as a child was going to Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, and spending a couple of weeks there with my family. And I remember going fishing for bass and bluegills and so on every day. And that was the most fun we had. I was probably 6 or 7 years old at the time, and we had a ball.
Well, as a child, I was into trouble all the time. But at that time, there were Tarzan movies on, and sort of a series, and once a week you saw something about Tarzan. Well, there was a nice big tree in our little town that was just perfect for swinging from one limb to the other. And we kids did that, once in a while. So after seeing that movie, I thought I knew it all. So I went to the tree, and I was doing pretty good until I missed and landed. And I knew I had broken some ribs. I knew something was wrong there. Now, this is a small town with one doctor. Of course, that hurt, but what was hurt worse was telling Mother all about this. But I did, and guess what I got? I got a paddling. And so I'll never forget that.
Well, my brother and I did everything together. We did music together, and we used to put on shows. My sister was 5 years younger than me, and she used to sing, and we would put on a show when we'd go different places. Very nice. Even though maybe there was nobody to watch, we'd practice.
I used to go down to the creek and go right out into the water.
From a tree rope, huh?
From a tree rope, right. Oh, that was fun.
And did you try
At first it was hard because I didn't want to turn loose.
You didn't want to let go,
I
huh?
didn't want to let it go. You could hit a bank or something,
So you had to know how to fall correctly.
Exactly.
Right in the middle of the deep hole, right?
Exactly.
That was fun.
Later on, after I got older, I was in college, and I went canoeing up in the Quetico Park in Canada with 3 fraternity brothers, and we paddled all the way from the border clear up to the Trans-Canada Railroad at Coween and back again, 300 miles. And we had a big time there.
One summer we decided to follow the Lewis and Clark Trail all the way from St. Louis all the way out to Oregon. And our kids were probably 8 and 5 or something like that. And we camped. And we started out, and I had read the journals of Lewis and Clark, And I read every day, I read where we were on the trail, thinking that they were absorbing all this. Of course, they weren't, but anyway. Anyway, we read all the historical markers, and my older daughter wasn't thrilled with this trip at all. And she said, "Not another hysterical marker." Well, we had fun camping. We had gotten up one morning early, and Martha and Marianne were still in the tent, and we heard this bang, 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 bang. And we looked in the tent, and Martha had a wood tick, and she was trying to kill it with a hatchet. Oh. And the tent had a floor in it. So,
oh, no.
So we stopped that in a hurry.
Jack Adams came by to tell us about LACE, which stands for Listening and Communication Enhancement.
I'm Mary Franklin, here today with Jack Adams from Audiology Consultants of Southwest Florida, and also one of our specialists that come to the Arbor Medical Center. He is here today to talk about a new program that he is offering, LACE, Listening and Communication Enhancement. His program will take place on Wednesday, July 16th at 1:15 p.m. in the Social Center. Welcome back, Jack.
My pleasure, always.
Well, you have an interesting program here. I'm comparing it almost to personal training for the muscle or brain fitness exercises that we all do. LACE is for your ears. Explain this to us.
Exactly. I've given presentations here before and always talked about how hearing aids can only be part of the problem. And this even takes that to a new level because it's not only for people that have hearing loss, it's for anyone that feels that they are having problems with communication. Situations where there's a lot of background noise or people that talk rapidly, those are two situations that people oftentimes find difficulty understanding, whether it's grandchildren or their spouse or in a restaurant or whatever the case may be. When you have those sorts of problems associated with listening and understanding, it has to do more oftentimes with our processing of information than it does actually a hearing loss per se. So this is a computerized program, and I don't want to scare people by using the term computerized because it's very simplistic, and you can do it in your home.
Okay.
I'm also hoping to try to set it up through the computer club, and maybe do another presentation through the computer college on this program, but it's basically listening exercises. So your comparison is a very good one because it gives the individual an opportunity to listen to different situations, different degrees of difficulty in terms of understanding and listening, and they set their own progress based on their own pace. So if you're presented with an exercise with speech in a background of noise, and you don't do well, then it'll make the task easier.
Right.
If you do really well, then it'll make the next task more difficult.
Right. Okay.
So it goes through a series of opportunities to try listening in more and more difficult situations to build those skills.
Okay. Very similar to brain fitness computer sessions that are out there that you can do. And it really goes back to that old adage, use it or lose it.
Yes, and that is very important, and that's why I tell people all the time, if they have a hearing loss, to try to do something about it as soon as possible, because that theory is very, very true, and there's been many studies that have been done that show that if you do not keep the ear stimulated, you do lose some of that auditory function. But this even takes that to another level in terms of the total cognitive aspect of listening and attention. And I hear from my patients all the time, you know, I can hear, but I don't understand. And this helps that understanding aspect by giving people an opportunity to really train themselves in more and more difficult scenarios to try to improve those listening skills.
Okay. Well, what if someone wanted to purchase this program for their computer. They should give you a call and you would set that up for them and give them the information?
Yes, I would like them to call my office, and I can have an appointment with them at the Arbor just to discuss the problems that they have. I do have a computer at the Arbor in my office when I do see patients, and so I can go through with them the initial, setup of this. I'm also going to be doing that at the presentation, so people will have a foundation that it's, like I say, it's really quite simplistic.
Right.
And if they don't have a personal computer, hopefully we can find a computer here at Shell Point that they would have access to it, or they can work from their home in their own computer at their own pace.
Okay. Is it good? Can you put it on your iPad or
Yes,
anything?
You can put it on iPad, you can put it on your computer, you can put it, on any
device.
Any type of device, yes.
Okay. And the cost is very reasonable, and they can discuss that with you, but it's not covered by insurance, but that's okay because it's not a huge
No,
cost.
and I can't give you the exact cost because I'm hoping at the presentation to get a feel for how many people might want to, engage in this program. And maybe we might even just start out with it just in one location and people could go try it for a while and see if they like it. But the cost is under $50.
Yeah, so very worth it.
Yes.
Very worth it.
Yes.
And at the program, you'll have it up on the big screen so people can try it out.
Yes, and we'll go through the exercises and work on it with individuals there, and so they get a real good feel as to what it is and if they think it would be helpful. And if you were to follow the protocol based on the program, it takes about 4 to 6 weeks to go through the program with like a 20-minute session per day. But you can really gauge that to your own schedule and however often you want to work on it. But the protocol outlines a 4 to 6 week program of trying to get to the maximum level of difficulty.
Okay. Well, isn't it amazing? Medicine these days is not take 2 of these and call me in the morning, right? You can take control of your own health and do things to prevent, hopefully, some of the negative outcomes, and this is just another example of that. The LACE program will be very interesting. Once again, it will be presented on Wednesday, July 16th at 1:15 p.m. in the Social Center. I'm Mary Franklin along with Jack Adams. Make it a happy and healthy day.
When you need someone to listen to you, Ann Chatfield has the answer. Her collection of dolls are very good listeners.
I grew up in Westchester County, so I've lived most of my life there. My mother grew up on a farm. She was poor as a child. She had 7 brothers and sisters, and the doll that she might have gotten for Christmas had a china head, and she said usually by the end of Christmas Day the doll was broken. And so she really wanted to take good care of my dolls, and I don't think I would have my dolls today if it weren't for my mother. My first doll is here on the table behind me. I think it was Margaret O'Brien from 1946. I was only 2.5 years old when I received her. My mother, grew up in the early 1900s, and so she knew about Margaret O'Brien. I think she probably went to a lot of movies with Margaret O'Brien and Shirley Temple, and so she was thrilled to give me that doll. She gave me a doll every year when I was a child for birthday and for Christmas, and that's how I accumulated the dolls. This doll is Betsy, and she's wearing her original clothes, but she also had a suitcase full of clothes, mostly made by my mother. My mother was great about sewing and crocheting, and she made many clothes for my dolls. I remember her working very late at night to sew the doll clothes. My favorite comic strip was Little Lulu, and this is Little Lulu. She has her own little purse, and I collected all the Little Lulu comic books. Over here we have Tony, and I had a lot of fun with Tony because Tony had hair that you could give a home permanent to. And I gave Tony so many home permanents that I had to buy her a new wig. I always wanted to be a teacher, so I would always pretend that I was the teacher, and my dolls and my teddy bears would be my students, and sometimes my friends in the apartment building would also be students, and if they answered the questions correctly, then they could move up one step on a flight of stairs. These are Ginny look-alike dolls. This is another Nancy Ann storybook doll, and behind her is a horseman doll. There are a few dolls in here that are quite old. There's Roy Rogers and Dale Evans. There's a campfire girl and a bluebird, because I was a campfire girl and a bluebird, and my mother dressed those dolls for me. I also enjoyed playing with paper dolls when I was a child, and I think my favorite paper dolls were movie stars, and my mother loved Grace Kelly, and I also liked Grace Kelly very much. And I think this is Jane Powell. This is my dollhouse that I received when I was about 3 years old. It was made by one of my father's customers who was an electrician, and so it has electric lights. There's a family that lives in the dollhouse. There are 2 dogs and a cat. There's a TV. There's a record player. I would go to the stores that sold wallpapers and ask for their discontinued books, and I would use that wallpaper to re-wallpaper the dollhouse. My mother was happy that it kept me occupied for so many hours. I think I probably stopped playing with the dolls and dressing them when I was in 4th or 5th grade. But the doll that I got that year was a doll that has the same name that I have. My real name is Annabelle. And Madame Alexander, who is the finest American doll maker, came out with a doll named Annabelle. And so she is the doll that is in the best condition because I didn't play with her. When my youngest daughter went to college, I think then I had a greater desire to add to my doll collection. And I also had friends at that point who wanted to give me a gift, and they knew I liked dolls, and so I received dolls as gifts. I was given this beautiful bride. She is Betty the Beautiful Bride. Betty the Beautiful Bride is from 1959. She had high-heeled shoes and a little corsage, and she came with a record by Bing Crosby. Many of them are handmade dolls with apple heads and also corn husk dolls. There's also some American Indian dolls. These dolls over here are handmade. They're handmade by my husband's mother. And this is an interesting doll that could be used to tell the story of Little Red Riding Hood because she looks like her. And she's young, and then you could also have Granny, who's old. We became parents to 3 children, Cuban orphans and refugees, 13, 12, and 10 years of age. And I wanted to be able to stay home and to be a full-time mother. Private tutoring was a good option for me, and so I started out teaching math and reading to American children, but then I also began teaching some Japanese children who were just in the United States temporarily, and the parents wanted them to learn English while they were here. The mother kept saying she wanted me to come to Japan, and she gave me books about sightseeing in Japan, the most wonderful travel experience that I've ever had. In Japanese we'd say subarashi, 13 subarashi days of travel for us in Japan, half in hotels and half staying with Japanese families. I'm dressed now in a yukata, which is an informal kimono. Today, many dolls are made out of wood. It's a traditional way of making Japanese dolls, and they're called kokeshi dolls. The top shelf are kokeshi dolls. Many of them are handmade by the mothers of my students. At the bottom are pairs of dolls representing the Emperor and the Empress of Japan. In homes where there are girls, they may set up a large ladder-like structure with many steps and display a collection of very valuable dolls. The top shelf will have the Emperor and the Empress, and then the other shelves have the members of the imperial family and their attendants. There's also little dishes of food on the shelves and miniature furniture and cherry and orange blossoms or peach blossoms. And the girls invite their friends to come and to have refreshments and to admire the dolls. And then we started to do some travel when my husband and I married and went to some foreign countries, and then I was able to collect souvenir dolls from those different countries. These dolls from Sweden are very old. There's also a a gaucho from South America. And there's a coronation coach for Queen Elizabeth when she became queen, dolls from Asia. And the next shelf is a mixture of dolls. The one in the center is from Germany. The dolls on the next shelf, most of them are from Cuba. As I said, our children were from Cuba. Dolls from Russia. And these are dolls from Wales and dolls from Croatia. These dolls are from Zambia and Zimbabwe. Our daughter is living in Zimbabwe now with her German husband. And these dolls are from different countries. The ones in the front are Amish dolls with no faces. These dolls are Swedish dolls. Both my great-grandmothers were Swedish. And these dolls are German, mostly from the Black Forest. When we first saw this apartment here at Sundial, I guess I thought this lanai in the front of the apartment would be a great room for the dolls, and my husband agreed. And so we decided to enclose it with glass to preserve the dolls.
And what does he think of all this?
He's very supportive. I'm so thankful.
The Woodlands Commons was the place to be last Friday for the 4th of July Jamboree. Our SPTV camera was there and captured some of the fun. Employee chaplain Don Stainhook loves science, and he loves the beauty of God's creation. He came by to preview his next presentation of his ongoing series of talks on beautiful science.
Hello everyone, I'm here with Don Stainhook. He is our employee chaplain at Shell Point, and today we're talking about one of his other loves, and that's science. And he's going to present Beautiful Science 11 in the Academy this semester. Thanks for joining me, Don.
It's always a pleasure to be here, Terry.
It's so exciting for all of us that you take the time to look at these TED lectures and pull the ones that are the most fascinating and then introduce us. And this one is going to be probably the best yet.
Well, I'm not sure of that, but it's going to be interesting. We are discovering now what has been termed the smoking gun that proves that there was a Big Bang 13.8 billion years ago, basically because of the gravitational waves that were set up during the inflation microseconds after the world began. So it's a very interesting view, and historically I'd like to give you a little bit of background that got us to the whole concept of the Big Bang and why we're where we're at. A man by the name of Olberg asked a very simple question back in the middle of the 1800s, and I'll ask the question to you, but then I'll answer it. The question is, one night he went out and he looked up at the sky and he said, "Why is it dark at night?" If the universe were infinite, and if the universe were eternal, then from each successive ring there would be an equal amount of light that would reach the Earth. And although the amount of light from each consecutive ring would be small, when you multiply something small by something that is infinite, the conclusion is that the sky should be bright as day at night as well, from all the light coming from the stars. So Olberg, back in the middle of the 1800s, had the paradox. The universe cannot be eternal. The universe cannot be infinite. It has to be finite. Then Hubble came along in the 1920s and basically proved what Einstein's theory of relativity suggested, and proved that the universe is expanding. And he found that to be true by the same principle that you might have experienced or other people experience when they stand by a train track and the train coming at them whistles with a higher pitch than when the train starts to go away from them. It's called a Doppler shift. Same is true with light. there's what's called the redshift. If I'm moving towards you, the red wavelength is compressed, and if I'm moving away from you, the red wavelength is expanded. And Hubble began to look into space and measure the redshift, and everywhere he looked, stars were moving away. And then he discovered that the further away the star was, the faster it was moving. So the conclusion is that the universe is finite, it's not eternal, and it's expanding. Well, if it's expanding, the question obviously is expanding from what? So they began to conjecture that at one point in time, the universe actually had coalesced to a very small, infinitesimally small point of infinite mass and expanded from that. Now, the scientists of that age did not like the idea. And in fact, it was a derisive term at first when they said, well, that's Hubble's Big Bang. And the reason they didn't like it, quite candidly, is because that coincides so exactly with what Scripture says. God said, let there be light. And Scripture says God created the universe out of nothing. And so there, in the 1920s, people first of all derisively started calling it Hubble's Big Bang. And today it is one of the underpinnings of the theory of cosmology, that at one point in time, everything in this known universe was an infinitely dense, infinitesimally small point that everything expanded from. And that's what we're going to look at in Beautiful Science 11.
Fascinating. Well, as you're explaining all this in such wonderful detail, and it's obvious that you followed all of these developments, people might sit back and say, why does all this matter?
Well, two more things, and then I'll get to that. Everybody was pretty content with the idea that the universe was expanding, and they began to think, well, you know, there's gravitational effect, and it's like a spring. It's going to go so far, and then gravitation is going to take over, and it's all going to come back together. So people began to postulate that the universe is basically on a 30, 40 billion year cycle. It goes bang, it expands, it contracts, it goes bang, okay. But then, to everyone's surprise, at the end of the 1990s and the early part of this century, they studied quasars, and from their determination, they came up with a totally non-intuitive result. The rate of expansion of the universe is increasing. It's expanding more rapidly today than it was last year, 1,000 years ago, a long time ago. So, as you know, when you go down Shell Point Boulevard, if you're going to increase your speed from 40 to 45, which of course is the legal limit that you always abide by, right, you need to add energy. You need to push on the accelerator. You need to add energy so that the velocity of your car increases. So now we're faced with a real reality. We have a whole universe that is speeding up in its expansion. So where is the energy coming from? Okay? So that gave birth to the idea of dark energy. It's got to be there, but we can't see it. Okay?
So we know what we believe, and now how fascinating to have science become a basis.
Yeah.
What people have been fighting against since the 1920s.
Yeah, and it's non-contradictory, and I'd like to conclude with this thought. All of this, for me personally, presents a huge problem. I'll just say huge. The problem is simply this. As a child, I'll confess that God was kind of like a grandfather figure. Bearded guy sitting on a throne, infinitely wise, infinitely powerful. But I could picture God as my grandfather on steroids, okay? Well, as I grew older, of course, that concept expanded and expanded and expanded. But the thing that I can't get my head around is when you consider that from that tiny point of nothingness, everything came to be. And now the universe is like 27 billion light years in diameter, almost innumerable number of stars, galaxies, and all of that. There is a God in my belief system who created that. And enormous is not an adequate word. There's no measuring stick that I can use. There's no mathematical formula that I can conjecture in terms of, well, how much energy did God expend when he spoke the world into existence? I mean, and then to hold on to that idea and to understand that that same God is here right now in this room, available to you and me. His Spirit dwells within us. Well, let me just simply say, it's well beyond my understanding, and it just blows me away when I think about it.
Don, this is so great. This is going to be a wonderful experience for all of us to kind of see the background of what you're talking about, and look at our own concerns and our own ways of accepting and understanding.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Thank you for one more semester of beautiful science.
My pleasure.
I hope you join us. It is going to be in the Grand Cypress Room, and it's 10 to 11:30 Monday, July 14th. Don Steinhook.
We're glad you joined us for today's show. Tune in again next week for more news and stories from around your community. Until then, this is Shell Point Today for the weekend of July 11th, 12th, and 13th. I'm Adam Brown, and for all of us here at Shell Point TV, we hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday.